from YouTube.
Yes. Share it from YouTube.
This didn't come out right.
What didn't come out right?
My rap.
Oh,
What is this? Oh,
that's for
camera.
the camera. Good evening. It's Thursday.
Good evening, everybody.
Um, so Thursday means it's time for Thursday night convo, right?
Yes, that's what it means.
And we have. This is going to be a good conversation tonight.
It is.
This is a conversation that although we've been having this conversation on our own, so to speak, it's a conversation that we felt like we needed to have someone else with us on, right? So we're going to take a moment. Those of you who are who come on, we want you to share this, and I can't ask you to do something that we are not doing ourselves. So I'm going to very quickly share this. I feel like I'm a little nervous about this conversation. Are you nervous about this conversation?
A little. Yeah, a little bit.
Maybe that's why I was doing all that,
Antsy.
Yeah, I'm
You
like,
were really antsy.
like what in the world is happening
That's
right
why
now?
I said, "Are you okay?"
Yeah, I kind of got some butterflies a little bit.
Yeah, I do
So,
too.
but that's cool, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? Because every conversation that you have, right, is not always going to be
An easy
an
one.
easy conversation.
Correct.
So, and that's cool. That's no problem. You still have to approach them the same way you would approach any other conversation, right? You still have to talk things through, and if you need additional help to talk things through, you by all means should get additional help to talk things through.
I just want to see something.
And that's what we're doing tonight. So before we bring on our guest that we have tonight, we are going to bookend it the same way we always do, right? Because the goal of this is to get couples to talk more. And I apologize. I'm looking at the screen and not the camera.
The camera is above the
The
screen.
camera is a little bit above the screen, and so in order to see comments and all that kind of stuff, so
That's okay.
I'm looking at you, ladies and gentlemen. Just want you to know that I am. But the goal is to get couples to talk more, and we've created a tool, and we're gonna bookend it. It's our tool, so I guess we have the liberty to bookend it every time with this, right? We created a tool. It's to have a conversation, couples journal, and it allows you, especially for all conversations, right? But because for us, this is not necessarily an easy conversation to have. Sometimes you need to kind of write your thoughts out. She's used to me rambling, right? Everybody doesn't appreciate that, right? I can go to her and I can ramble and I can actually unpack my thoughts as we're having this conversation. But sometimes that doesn't work. It doesn't work well. Or what happens with me often is that after I come out of the conversation, I'm like, man, I should have said this, or I didn't say that right. That's not exactly what I was trying to say. And so this gives you an opportunity really to kind of jot down some talking points, to kind of look at it and say, hey, is this what I really want to say? Is this what I mean? And then your spouse can look at that, and those can become conversation starters for you, right? You can get that on our website, denali.org/shop, Amazon, Barnes and Nobles. All right. So I'm rushing through that because I'm really I want to get to this conversation. We are talking about what would you characterize this as?
So,
Or what would you, that wasn't the right word, but what would you call it? What would you name it?
When our guest comes on, she can kind of help, to yay or nay if we're calling it right.
Okay.
But what I think of is just trying to have a conversation with you, how to navigate when a situation arises in the family that triggers past trauma.
Okay.
So that's
That's what we're talking about.
That's what we're talking about.
We're talking about trauma. Okay.
Past
Trauma.
past trauma, and things that happen today, like in our today world, that triggers that.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. All right. So having said that, I'm going to share it one more place, and then we're going to jump right into the conversation. Because
So while you're doing that, maybe I'll give a little bit of background.
Sure, absolutely.
Okay. So a few years ago, we went through a really what was to us very traumatic situation with a member of our family and with one of our children, and that situation rears its ugly head from time to time. And when it does, in whatever form it does, for us this past week, it happened to be just trying to have a conversation with this person. And
I'll put your mic a little bit closer to you.
okay. And when that happens, like for us, what happened was we were trying to have a conversation with this family member, right? With one of our children. And I didn't want you to. I didn't want you to talk about what we were talking about. I just didn't want you to have that kind of conversation. Because when we do, for me, it just reminds me of the past and how those types of conversations played out in the past.
Okay.
And so while you were talking a few days ago, I got really anxious. I wanted you to stop talking. I kind of was trying to give you the eye, like, okay, that's enough, you know. So.
And I noticed it.
You did notice it.
I did notice it. And I felt and I wanted to stop. But
because of me, or because you felt uncomfortable as well?
Well, I felt uncomfortable. I just to give you a bit of context that I did not give you before. I had already gone and laid in the bed. Remember?
Yes,
it was late.
Yes,
it was like
late.
2. It was like 2:30 in the morning.
It was late.
So I had already gone and laid down. But when I laid, I had been grappling with this for days.
Really? Okay.
And when I laid down, it all kind of came to a head.
Then I guess you were supposed to.
And I was like, at first I suppressed it. I was like, you know what? I literally turned over and was like, I'm going to go to sleep.
Wow.
I'm not getting up. Like, I'm not going to do it. But I couldn't. So that's why I got up, came out to where you guys were. So I was already kind of grappling with it. I was uncomfortable. So seeing you in that position to be that you were uncomfortable in this conversation as well, it made me want to stop. But the importance of what we were saying, I felt like I could not stop.
It just needed to be said.
Right. So somebody said to please repeat what we're talking about. We're talking about, in a nutshell, trauma.
Past
trauma.
Yeah.
That continues to manifest itself in present day
situations
scenarios.
Sometimes. Yeah.
Right.
Scenarios.
And how do we deal with that as a couple? Because, and we'll dig into this a little bit more. We're going to bring the guest on literally in 30 seconds after I say this. It has an adverse effect.
Yes.
It causes
anxiety.
It causes tension between the two of us.
Yeah.
When those things happen, we tend to kind of, we're not at each other's throats, but we tend to kind of,
we're not connected.
Right.
We're not
we
connected.
We disconnect. Right.
Yeah.
And so how do we combat that? Right. And that's what we're talking about. And we have an expert.
Yeah.
Let's just call it what it is. You know what I mean? We have an expert that is going to. She's shaking her head. You can't see her right now. She's backstage of sorts, shaking her head, talking about no, she's not an expert. She is an expert.
In our eyes, she is.
She's gonna come on and just have this conversation with us and just talk us through some things and she has helped us before.
Yeah.
In a conversation, and it was impromptu. This time we reached out to her ahead of time, and so we're going to bring on our friend, man. We're going to bring her on, and we're going to have this conversation
There's our sweet
with
friend.
Mia.
Hi.
What's happening?
So we have on the show today Armina Domingue. Did I say your last name right?
Yeah.
Okay. Armina Domingue of Candor Conversations. Is that right?
Yep. Tender
Okay.
consultant
Candor Consulting.
firm.
Oh,
Consulting
Candor
firm.
Consulting Firm. That's it. Right. And she is just an amazing. Well, I'll let you say what you do because I don't want to mess it up. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
You guys, first I am as you are.
Oh,
So you're all listening.
Okay, that's what's up.
I am actually feedback back in my end.
Uh, you're breaking up on
you're
our end. So
breaking
hold on.
up
Let
a
me
little bit. Hold on.
let me check. Let
Let's
me check
try and
something
fix
on
it.
our end. Yeah, let me check something. On our end. Let's see. Audio.
And for the viewers in the comments, there is feedback on her end. That's what I was going to ask. If you can hear the both of us, both me and Ollie and Armina, well. And someone said that there is feedback on Armina's end.
Okay. I actually have my Facebook open, so I closed it.
That
So that
sounds better.
could have been what the problem or the issue is.
Okay.
Okay.
That sounds
it
better.
It does sound clear.
Yes.
Okay. Does that sound better, viewers? I hope so. It sounds good. It sounds better on our end.
Yeah, sounds good. Sounds good to me.
So thank you for being with us. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
So I am Armina. I am not the expert. You guys are.
Oh no.
We're just chilling together tonight,
Aw.
sharing the knowledge amongst each other. But I am so honored to be here. I have been in the field of social work, mental health, like almost 20 something years. I'm kind of dating myself, but hey, it is what it is. Black don't crack. And I have done individual counseling, couples counseling, families counseling. I run trauma groups around the city of Philadelphia for men and women who are in a recovery home or a halfway home. And so currently during COVID, I launched a business because I'm like, well, I've been doing this. I might as well just put some respect on it and get it all, up and running. And so I did, and birthed Candor Consulting Firm. And through that, there are different platforms. So Candor Conversations is a platform under Candor Consulting Firm.
Okay.
And what we do is that once a month, a group of experts get together and we have conversations about topics that are basically affecting all of us. So lately we've been doing anxiety and COVID trauma and COVID depression and COVID, and just really how to embrace our new norm that our country is really under. That's pretty much it. And I have an amazing, fierce 2-year-old. Hopefully she is preoccupied for a while. And so she keeps me going. And that's truly kind of all about me.
She's amazing and fierce, and she's absolutely adorable. I just have to say, she is so cute. I wish you guys could all see her. She's adorable.
No, you don't want to say that because then she's going to come downstairs and then we're going to have an interruption in the broadcast. So.
She's really cute.
But
anyway, I just want to thank you for being here.
And I have a husband. Did I say that? Like, I have an amazing husband who is my BFF. He is my supporter. He does whatever it takes for the vision, and the vision is about saving lives to make it into God's kingdom. Like one starfish at a time, whatever that looks like. And so he is my ride or die.
I love it. I love it.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Good stuff. We just in a moment of transparency, right? We wanted to use the audio from this conversation for a podcast. But I'm not prepared to record it. I left the SD card, right? So I'm just going to put you on the spot. I think you and my wife probably already talked about it, but I want to have this conversation and another conversation as a podcast.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I can record through StreamYard, and we can probably maybe get bits and pieces of it just to use for one, but we got to get you officially to record another one. If you're cool with it, we'll set that up in a future date.
I'll talk to Jesus, my manager, and see.
Yeah, please do that. Please do
That's
that.
right.
Please do that. Just let us know your availability and all of that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right, so babe, you wanna set this off?
You're so nervous. Are you nervous?
I am. I don't know why.
I am nervous too.
I don't know why I'm nervous.
To be honest.
Let me tell you what's crazy, right? Let me tell you what's crazy. We have resolved in our minds that we're going to be transparent.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Right. And part of, I think, I don't want to call it the pull, but part of the thing that I think the people that resonate with us, the folk that rock with us, consistently, I think the thing that they appreciate is the fact that we are
transparency.
Right. What you see is what you get. Yeah. Right. So, however, there are certain topics that are a little tough for us.
They're a little uncomfortable. That's because I think it's still so, well, maybe not just because of this, but I think because this situation is still so raw for us that it's difficult sometimes to talk about it.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think that also it's the one subject matter that we just have kept really close to the chest.
Yeah.
It's something we haven't talked to a lot of people about.
Only a few people know. Yeah.
People get bits and pieces of it based on other topics that we might be talking about, but they don't get the whole thing. Yeah. So having said that, I'm going to give you a little bit of context without kind of going too deep into it. We, our son has had some tough years. Let's just put it that way. He's 17, about to be 18. So had some tough teenage years. Let me just interject real quick. Shameless plug. He has taken some therapeutic writing and has turned it into a phenomenal hip hop album. Yeah. There's a single from that hip hop album dropping tonight at midnight. So if you follow me, look for me on Facebook or on Instagram, you will get a snippet of that. The actual project in its entirety will drop August 7th. So you will get to actually hear some journey of what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Because he's chosen to actually be, although you may not see him on camera for a while, he has chosen to use this medium to kind of put some of that stuff out there. So having said that, we have obviously have walked through this journey with him. Sometimes with some varying degrees of difficulty as it relates to how helpless we feel at certain times and how we go about managing it, right? Because we're not sure. We talk to couples all the time about managing their stuff, and this is something that we have trouble managing at times, right? And so talking about past trauma, the scenario that Nisi was describing in the beginning of this live was we were dealing with some school-related issues that we were trying to clear up with him. And so he and my wife were getting some paperwork together and getting some tests together and doing some things so that we could send these grades off to, he's homeschooled. He's been homeschooled for few years now. So we could send this stuff off. We're a little bit behind schedule, so we're kind of rushing, cramming to do some things. And for the last few days before that, I just felt like I needed to just reiterate the importance of
staying on task
and being responsible and all of that, right? Just the whole, we don't want to set you up for failure kind of thing by allowing you to drop the ball in certain areas. the thing with that is normally the harder we push because of what he is going through, what he's experiencing, sometimes that push, it knocks him over metaphorically. Right. So, and because we want to avoid what the result of knocking him over, sometimes we back off of doing those things. When we do them, say, do whatever it is, we kind of go through what we went through these last couple of days, right? So we do it and we kind of see, the result of those things, and it brings up some trauma, if you will, from when this thing first began. Because,
and like I said, like I was explaining to Armina earlier today, like this is nowhere near what 3-4 years ago was like if we were to have these types of conversations with him. And so what I always wrestle with is, okay, Ali, can we not say anymore, because I don't want to experience the past again.
Right.
I don't want to, push that far, because I don't want him to experience the past. And I also don't want us to feel more helpless again, like we did in the past, because we just, there's not really much you can do. It's not something you can fix. You know what I'm saying? Us as parents, sometimes we can, if an issue arises, if it's a bill, we'll pay it. If it's something that needs to be bought, we'll buy it. You know what I'm saying? But this is something that necessarily can't always be fixed. And so I was just like, we're going to start feeling helpless again. The anxiety comes up because I don't want him to feel how he felt before. And I don't want us to be at odds about it. It just affects, the whole thing. So, and that's why I wanted to bring Armina on, so that she can just talk about a little bit about just how, I don't even know, like what's the best way to handle, I guess, when couples feel this whole anxiety over past trauma. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because
I don't know. I don't feel like we necessarily handle it as well as we could, because I kind of retreat, and then I don't want to talk, and he kind of retreats a little bit, or he'll reach out, but I don't want to talk. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's awkward.
It's awkward. It causes some disconnect with us, and it's just it's something that is difficult to navigate. Like, we are proponents of conversation, and I feel like we talk about everything, but when it comes to this, we still talk about it. We have the conversations,
right?
But I think what happens with us is that those conversations are the umbrella that's over those conversations is always a little different than our other conversations, because there's a certain level of stress. There's a certain level of disconnect. So it's almost like we're reaching across the aisle. We're not actually together. We're just kind of reaching across the aisle for these moments of, I'm not doing okay kind of moments, but the level of synergy is not there.
Yeah.
And I felt like it was important to bring this conversation. I know we're doing a lot of talking. We're going to let you do all the talking after this. I thought it was important to bring this conversation to our Thursday night convo, because what we've realized is that there are a lot of folks who experience these same kinds of things, but they don't say anything,
right?
For the very same reasons that we don't say anything,
right,
to anybody, about this particular subject. And so I felt like it would just be beneficial to folks. One, it's going to be beneficial to us, but beneficial to folks who deal with past hurts or deal with past trauma, or have these situations where it disconnects them in a way that potentially could be detrimental, or it causes them to adopt coping mechanisms that are unhealthy, right? I feel like I have some coping mechanisms that potentially could be unhealthy, and they're go-tos when she's distant. and they're go-tos when I don't feel like thinking about it. You know what I mean? So that could be just detrimental to a relationship. And so,
and I just want to read something that Armina sent me earlier today, and then Armina, I'll let you take it from there based on what you sent me. It says the impact of trauma can be subtle, insidious, or outright destructive. How an event affects an individual depends on many factors, including characteristics of the individual, the type and characteristics of the event or events, developmental processes, the meaning of the trauma, and socio-cultural factors. Did I say that right? Sociocultural factors. And so, yeah, that's a mouthful. Right?
Yeah, it is. So here's the thing, Mia. Is there I'm saying this facetiously because I'm kind of setting it up for you to say whatever you're going to say. What is the quick fix?
Is there a quick fix? I don't think that
we already know the answer to that, but right. I wanted to ask it that way because that is often what, as couples, that's what we look for.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And sometimes that quick fix, it are things that cause us to actually, maybe they cause us to ignore the situation, but they don't help to bring any kind of fix to it. So.
Right.
Help us out, expert.
First of all, you guys jinxed it because the baby did come downstairs.
That's okay.
It's okay.
That's okay.
No worries.
We welcome her company.
No worries.
But I do want to first really commend you guys for even opening up this space to have this conversation. It's easy to talk about things that affect a couple because it's two people together. And so usually before couples have these open discussions, they talk about what they're going to share and what they're not going to share. So there's an agreement amongst the two. When this involves a third party, whether if it's a family member or a friend, there are some rules to the game.
Yeah.
And so that makes it very difficult. So I want to commend you guys, first of all, for even giving us a crack into your home or into your space to work this out. Mm. The quick fix to this is Jesus and therapy. Those two things go together.
Yeah.
One of the things I always say is that trauma does not just affect the person who had the direct trauma. Mm-hmm. It affects the people that they live with, the people in their circle, and it becomes indirect trauma to those people. Mm-hmm. And Denise, you've been using this phrase, and I chuckle every time you say it. I don't know why I chuckle, but I do. Mm-hmm. Past trauma. You were very clear that it's past trauma. Mm-hmm. And there is such a thing of past trauma, mm-hmm. but the thing about trauma is that it can come back at any time. Things can trigger those feelings that happened years ago.
Yeah.
Maybe you were like, I got over this. Like, why am I feeling this? Or what is it I'm feeling? And you don't have the words for it. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like anything else. If you don't guard your space, if you don't guard, you know, what's going on with you, if you're not paying attention, it's going to knock you like, oh, you came back? Like, wait, what's going on? Mm-hmm. And oftentimes in our communities, in the African-American communities, you know, we don't talk about these kinds of things, right? Mm-hmm. We don't talk about our family business because basically what you hear here stays here. You don't take this outside of 1, 2, 3 Hope Drive. You know, it stays in this household. And as dysfunctional as we are in working it through, because like as a therapist, I can't therapize myself, right? I can't therapize my family. Mm-hmm. And so, but we try to do that. We try to make it work. And a lot of times it is simply a Band-Aid that we put on it. Mm-hmm. So then it rains or you get into the shower and water hits the Band-Aid and the adhesiveness on the Band-Aid comes off. Mm. Now the cut is exposed. So when the cut is exposed, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, do you just go grab another Band-Aid and put it on? Or do you use like a ointment? Do you caress it? Do you make it so that it's healed. And when it comes to trauma, oftentimes we are really afraid deep down inside to heal, because in order to heal, we got to deal. Healing and dealing rhymes. If we're not going to deal with it, then we're not going to heal from it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
It makes sense. It makes sense.
It does. And so the term past trauma then is not necessarily accurate, at least not in this situation.
It can be,
It's
right?
Because it's just trauma.
Right.
Because the thing is, there was an event that happened. And can we just identify trauma for some people who may not know what it is? Because
please. Yeah.
One of the things we do a lot of times as humans is that we throw around terminology and we misuse terminology. So I hear all the time, oh my goodness, I'm so traumatized. And it's like, not really, but okay. So let's just give trauma a definition for the sake of this live. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yes.
Please do.
So the best way, Denise, you read like the full term, the gusto, right, of what it is, and you said that was a mouthful, and you are so right. Trauma is a beast. It doesn't just come like meow, it comes roaring at you.
Yep.
And so the way I can basically defined it is anything that knocks you off your core, and your core is your foundation. So if you just go like this, right, that is something happened that made you shift or knocked you off your core. Two, you land back on your feet, but the thing still happened. And oftentimes we don't deal with the thing. We just say, whew, what was that? And we just keep moving.
Yeah.
5 years later, 10 years later, something else happens and knocks us down, and we start experiencing the same uncomfortable feelings that we did 5-10 years ago.
Yeah.
And for some people, that's how it happens. For others, it rocks us and we just can never get our footing. And so we struggle all through life trying to find what it was like before. And COVID-19 is going to be traumatic for a lot of us because some of us have been knocked off of our core. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Yep.
And so while the trauma happened in the past, it continues to rear its face because there may be something that we in ourselves haven't dealt with that causes that trauma to come back up, that causes those feelings to come back up. And sometimes what I tell my parents, while the disclaimer is this may not apply to you, this may not apply to your family, but because we have a broad audience listening, it could apply to someone. So
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yep. Please.
Yeah, there's no holds barred.
Yeah.
Ali, that's why you was nervous, because you didn't really know where I was going to go.
Right.
Well, it wasn't even so much what you were going to say. It's just, I feel like, and this speaks to what you just said. I feel like because there is some level of healing that needs to take place, and there is a great deal of trying to navigate that, not being knocked over and trying to appear, I'm gonna be honest, trying to appear as though I'm still on my feet when I'm knocked over, for their sake, for the sake of the team I work with, for the sake of, everybody, right? I think for me, some of that nervousness was the fact that I just haven't properly managed that. I just haven't, and so I'm like, man, I'm about to talk about something I really, normally when we talk about something, it's something that we've kind of come through, and now we have a tip or a tool or two as it relates. We might not have it perfect, but we kind of know how to manage it a little bit. With this, I don't have none of that, and so I'm like, what am I about to talk about? So it was a little bit of that as well. So
oftentimes when the trauma is indirect, and let's just say it's with a child, you guys already disclosed that that's it. The parents usually feel some level of responsibility. And when you do not come to terms with, I don't own this, you're going to continue to be re-traumatized. And there's the tipping toe. I love the fact that you guys use that word, because the people who are going through the direct trauma, and this is completely not done intentionally, they assign roles to the people they live with. And so in assigning the roles, they know that each person, okay.
She's just trying to help. She's trying to help us too. It's all good.
Right.
We need all the help we can get.
Sidebar commercial, I've called her my coworker. And so today she transferred to a different department, but then she tends to do overtime she comes back to my department. So she's on overtime right now.
All right, that'll work.
All right, commercial's over. So what ends up happening is that the parents tend to take ownership of the trauma.
Mm-hmm.
So they start thinking, what could I have done differently?
Yep.
How could I have protected this person from this thing? I mean, that's my role as a parent. I'm supposed to protect my kids.
Yep.
How come I didn't see this coming?
Right.
And you end up getting into a rabbit hole.
Mm-hmm.
And the rabbit hole is a deep hole, like a mine, where in order to come out, you need people to pull you out.
Mm-hmm.
You need like rescue 911 to come and get you out.
Mm-hmm.
And so oftentimes as parents, we feel God has given us the privilege to be parents to these little people who turn out to semi-little people and then adults.
Mm-hmm.
And oftentimes it is our own stuff that comes into us feeling that we're responsible, because we have childhood stuff that we haven't dealt with, that now that we're parents, we are like, you might have said, I will never do that when I become an adult, or I will never do that when I become a parent. And then you become a parent and you do the exact same thing, right? So I tell my clients all the time, when someone in the family, in your immediate family, has experienced trauma, the whole family has experienced trauma.
Yeah.
So just to send Johnny off to therapy to go get help, it's another Band-Aid. It doesn't help the entire family structure, the entire family unit to heal. And going to therapy is not like 1 or 2 times, right? You got to invest in that thing. And sometimes it could be however long or however short, depending on how vulnerable you are upfront about the issues that need to be saved, need to be saved. Because that is ultimately, when you go to therapy, your hands up, I'm surrendering. At this point, I tried everything, I can't do it. So we as a unit comes. Now, what happens to the traumatic person is that they see the support, not only in 1, 2, 3 Hope Drive, but now the whole family has taken our taboo or our secret outside of the household, and we're all going to be here together. And so what happens is people enter into the counseling world and say, this is not working. I've been coming for like 3-4 months, and you know what? Nothing's working. So I'm just going to stop going. It's like the picture where it shows the guy digging down in the mine and he's looking for gold.
Yep.
And just before he hits the gold, he turns around and walk away.
Yeah.
That's kind of like how the setting or the field work is, that, we got to get deep before we can come to the top.
So would you suggest, or would you suggest, so the parents also, right, should go to therapy, you're saying, for this situation?
I'm saying the family should go, whatever the family consists of, should go and work out the issue together as a family. And the thing that we haven't identified, and it doesn't really matter, is what the trauma was or is.
Right.
Because there are some traumas that really you can cope with it, handle it, and it's done. Excuse me. But there are other things that happen where you realize that we're going to continue to be re-traumatized over and over again if we don't get help, because this thing is bigger than us. This thing has been lingering for a long time. I don't see any hope around the bend for this thing. And so you then start to say, I can't live like this, right? Because at some point, it doesn't just affect the person who is going through the issue, it's affecting everyone in the household. I mean, the fact that, Ali, that you had to wake up at 2 something in the morning and go and address it, your spirit was unsettled, you couldn't even go to sleep. That's the speaks volume to how this thing has become the elephant in your living room. Everybody's walking around it. Everybody's tiptoeing. Oh, don't say nothing, because if you say something, it may trigger something. And then what?
Yeah.
So we all just say, hey, can I just make a little, so we start doing and saying things that we know is not healthy for everyone in the situation. But the outcome, we think, is a lot more detrimental than if we just tiptoe. So if you keep tiptoeing, you will tiptoe for the rest of your life. You will never address the elephant. When you go to wipe off the table, you're going to lift up the elephant's leg, wipe it up, put it back down.
Yeah.
At some point, you need to say to the elephant, listen, pack your bags and go. And I'm going to wait till you do it, because you can't stay here anymore. But that happens in the therapeutic world, where you and the therapist or the counselor work through it, because trauma is a beast. It's not something that you just say, I'm going to write off. It'll come back.
Wow. That's really good.
Yeah,
that's really, really, really
yeah.
good.
I mean, that's accurate, because you literally describe the way I process all of this.
Yeah.
Like to a T. Like some of what you said is literally what I spin around in my mind when I'm attempting to process. Let's put it that way.
Ali, you said something that we talked about on the very first time you guys had me on the show, when you were talking about the gender roles that people play in the family. You mentioned, like, you gotta put on a front, if I can use that word,
Yep, you
so
can.
that everyone feels safe, because your role is to make sure that the family is safe. Well, it's okay to be not okay. Like, that's okay. And I think that what happens to people who have the direct trauma, they need to see how their actions affect everyone else. They need to see how the trauma affects everyone else, and that we cannot continue to co-sign this stuff.
That's interesting that you would say that, because we tend to do a lot of, I'm worried it's not bothering us, kind of. Not it's not bothering us, but it's not. Because I think what happens on both sides of the coin, right, is that we do some tiptoeing, right? But so does he.
So does he.
So he'll say, he'll at some point, when it's very overwhelming, then he'll come to us, and he's good about talking to us.
Right.
But it's got to be at a breaking point. And the reason why it's got to be at a breaking point, because he, like me, doesn't want to make us feel, he doesn't want to overwhelm us.
He even said that was it last night or the night before?
Maybe. He doesn't want to overwhelm us. He even said that.
He was like, I just don't, I don't really say too much to you guys, because, well, not too much, but I don't really always come to you guys, because I don't want to add to the stress that you already have. He said something to that effect. And then we are like, oh, no. We're okay. We can handle it. We're your parents. That's what we're here for.
And what I'm hearing you say is actually a revelation to me, because what I'm hearing you say, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that we all need to see all sides.
Yes, absolutely. Because the other thing too is, when you tiptoe around this person, you're conforming to the roles that they have assigned to you and everyone else in the home. Wow. And that's very key to know, because it's not like you are protecting them. You're just conforming to, they have boxed you in. They have said, you're going to stay here, because anything outside of this, I'm going to lose it. Okay. It's okay to lose it. You lose it, we're all here together. We will get crisis. We will take you where we need to. We will sit up with you all night. Whatever it's going to take, and it's okay. And sometimes they need the permission to lose it. And so they're afraid to tell you, because they feel if they lose it, you can't handle it. And you may not be able to, and you may lose it with them. And at some times that's okay, because then you recover together. So one of the things that you guys have to have is a contingency plan in place, you know, and that includes bringing that family member in and say, look, let's talk about this because this thing continues to happen. What is it that we need to do? So music is great. Music is a coping skill. Music is a tool that can help. What else do you have? Because if music isn't there at that moment, what else can you pick up? What else can you do? And so having the plan and having the person be a part of it versus the two of you in your bedroom with the door closed and you're like whispering what the plan's going to be, that's not going to work. Because then when you go to deliver the plan, they're going to be like, nah, man, I ain't with that.
Right. I will say, though, that the conversation 2 nights ago was pretty much that was the tone. Like what
we all were together and brainstormed together.
It was a brainstorming session.
Yeah.
But similar to what you're talking about, like what are the things that we can, what are the options? What are, you know, some of the things that we can do? What are some of the things that we can use as, I use the word distractions, but I've basically used a phrase that we use with couples, which is that if you want to see something, if you want to get different results, you got to
do something different.
So what are some of the things that we can, you know, twist and turn and do some, you know, like that. And so that is one of those conversations. And honestly, we're open to all of it. Right. And I want to kind of bring in some of this stuff too. We're open to all of it. Everything you just said. But what if family members aren't? So somebody asked the question, what if the members of the family don't
want to go to counseling?
Engage in the way that you just should.
So what happens sometimes is that So what happens sometimes is there has to be buy-in. And usually buy-in is staggered with a group. So not everyone's going to always be on the same page at the same time. Those who are accepting of the thing, whatever the thing is, it is your role to help the people who are not there yet to get comfortable and feel supported to get there. One of the things that I say to people who call me and say, hey, you know, my kid needs therapy, but they don't want to come. How can I get them to come? Sometimes it's a matter of offering to take them, sitting in the car with them, sitting up with them, and just being present in the moment, whatever that looks like. Now, the other piece of it is if the person is in danger of themselves or others, they don't really get to choose whether they want to be on board or not. There are strict guidelines that you would have to follow. But if it's nothing harmful, but you do know that the person needs help, unless they're willing to get the help, then you're going to run into some complications. And the way you get them to be willing is to be accepting of what is going on and offer them options. You know, maybe they think that you think they're crazy, and so that's why you want them to go see someone. And it could just be, you know what? Hey, John, do you want to go check your thinking? I mean, I need to check my thinking sometimes too, and just make sure that I'm on the right track. And maybe that I can see you could benefit from that. We can go together. We can together. We can look at the family system together to see what is causing this disruption. It's not a one-day conversation. It is a builder. It's like a building of time in getting that individual there.
Very good.
That's good.
Yeah.
And it's we actually before this we were sitting on the couch or earlier today I think it was we were sitting on the couch and it was just like we
it was today earlier today
we need to go see somebody like we do.
And can I just say that going to see someone is never a bad thing?
Oh no, I'm with that.
We tend to think it is because there has been for a very long time some negative connotation of going to therapy or going to your pastor, you know, or talking to an elder in the church. There has been lots of people's lives have been exposed by doing it. And so they decide not to do it, that I'm just going to keep it in. I'm just going to handle it here. So I just want to put out there that it's okay to go see someone. If you don't want to call it counseling or therapy, call it checking your thinking. You're just going to go and just kind of tossed the idea around. And when I said you guys are the expert, you guys are the expert. I'm just riding on this conversation. I'm not leading it. I'm just riding on what you guys already know. And Ali, you have confirmed for me that, you know, I was thinking that, or I was processing that. So there's nothing I'm saying that you don't have that info for. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
that makes sense. And it's just to be truthful. We are, well, I'm gonna speak for myself. Over the years, I have been able to overcome that stigma, because I will admit early on, like my parents are West Indian. So what happened with me is the same thing I tried to do with my son in the beginning, which I feel like if I was thinking differently in the beginning, maybe the course of this might have changed. But, I grew up under the, just get yourself together kind of mentality. Mm-hmm. Like, suck it up, apply yourself, because that's what they were taught, and I don't know that I remember even hearing the term counseling.
I'm sure you didn't. I did. I know I didn't. Not in my household.
And I think it was always that if you did hear it, it was always associated with the person that had phenomenal issues, right? Because even in college, I started working in college. I worked in detention centers, and I worked in counseling centers with youth, and I worked with people who really had like some deep-rooted issues, if you will, that if I compared myself to them, now that I'm looking back, I mean, I probably had some of the same stuff, but because I dealt with it differently, or was always used to suppressing it, they look like the folk with the huge issues. And so you associate counseling and therapy and these types of things, the work environments that I found myself in college, with a certain type of individual that I didn't identify. I felt like I didn't identify with.
But if you think back to our families are the first teachers. Before you even hit the door, you're with a group of people who have taken the opportunity to raise you, whether good or bad, or with what they knew at the time.
Right.
And if you look back at your family structure, there was always some uncle, some aunt, some cousin that had some issues. The family never really talked about the issue, but you just knew to stay away from that particular person because they was just weird, off the charts, don't bother with that person. It was like, you knew when they came around, the dynamics of the room changed.
Yeah.
So and I'm African, full blood, mother, father, born there and all. So I get what you're saying. Mm-hmm. And the problem with that is our parents did the best they could with what they had.
Right.
If you think back about even in other countries, the person who was sick in the head, they went to the village and they got some liquid, some tea, some herbs,
some bush tea.
Right. And then they came back more jacked up than they were when they went. But still, that was their treatment for it. Yeah. And so, yes, you're right. Our generation didn't grow up really being exposed to mental health and the help that's out there for that.
And it's crazy because I didn't, now that I'm thinking about it, I don't know that I even really intentionally began to make that shift until about 5 years ago when this all started happening. Mm-hmm. Right? Like I knew in my mind, just from exposure, that, hey, counseling therapy is not a bad thing. There's no bad stigma about it. But I think because of the way that I've always dealt with things throughout my life, I've always tried to shoulder it. I've always, maybe buckled a little bit under the pressure, but, was managed to straighten my back up kind of thing, that I was like, all right, well, I just won't do it because I got a way to deal with it. So I won't do it. And then when looking at, at looking at this as a really like in your face option for our son, I had to really kind of turn the corner, if you will. Like I already knew it was okay, but really kind of turn the corner with, hey, this is not only is it okay, but it's vital. I'll use that word to how the rest of our lives play out. And I think the reason why I haven't, like he has, but I think the reason why I still haven't yet is because I'm doing the same thing that I always do.
Yeah.
Like I'm shoulder it, and I carry it. My back might hurt for a day or two, but then I find some strength somewhere. And so I just keep going. And I've said in the last 3 years, I've probably said 100 times, I probably need to go sit on somebody's couch. I've said that probably 100 times. I just haven't followed through. So this is a good conversation to kind of nudge me in the direction that I need to go.
The other thing too is when we have a name for a behavior, it makes it more bearable because we now understand. And so oftentimes we have people around us who display some behaviors that are just not common, and we don't know what's going on, right? And we don't really know how to help them because we don't know what's going on. But the minute that we are able to put a name to something, it gives us clarity of what direction we need to go in.
Yeah. Yes. Very good. Very good.
Yeah. I mean, that's what it boils down to. We just gotta follow through. We have to, the go-to thing, the things that we go to, right? Normally you kind of distance yourself a little bit, or for me, it might be
binge watching something.
It might be binge watching. It might be throwing myself into something that is pseudo productive, but I'm not really making any progress. I'm just in it so that it can cover me, kind of thing. We have to move out of that because that's not really, that doesn't do anything for, it doesn't get us the level of healing that we essentially desire, right?
Or need.
That's the better word. It gets us from point A to point B. And then when we get to point B, we're like, okay, I think we're good for now. Until we fall back and find ourselves back at point A again. And then we kind of keep doing those things that help us cope for the moment, I think.
I have a question for you guys. Have you guys ever watched the movie Failure to Launch?
No.
So that is your homework assignment. You're to watch that movie.
Failure
and
to
then we should have a deeper conversation about that.
I love it.
There is a terminology in our field, in the field of mental health, called failure to launch. And I don't want to give the movie away, but essentially it is about families over protecting someone who has failure to launch.
Wow.
And the movie is about a kiddo who is just not leaving his parents' house, and so the parents are doing all of these things to get him to leave. And so I want you to watch that movie, and some of it may apply to the situation and some of it may not. But I have a few tips that I can give you of managing failure to launch that I can give now, or we can wait until you watch the movie and then give it so it makes more sense in context.
Yeah, let's do that.
Whatever you suggest, before or after, whatever you. Yeah.
Well, so I will give it, but then we will discuss it in details later. Is that okay?
Okay.
So the first one is stop accommodating.
Stop accommodating.
And I can send this to you. You don't have to take notes because I want you to.
Okay.
I'll send it to you. So stop accommodating. Don't judge. I mentioned anxiety is a multi-person system, so it really affects everyone. Form an alliance and take small steps. Actions speak louder than words. And open up the system. Like right now, your system could be closed in, and I think this is the first step of opening up the system, because you just allow all of us into your life. Some people are sipping tea, some people got some popcorn right now, but you have opened up your system to us.
Mm-hmm.
So communicating openly and honestly is obviously always key, because that's what that is the sort of the platform you stand on.
Yeah.
Encouraging hope, even though when it feels like it's a hopeless situation, encouraging that hope so that the person can feel like they are making improvements or moving in the direction that would be more healthy for them later on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Good. Very, very good. This was really, really insightful. Really insightful.
Yeah.
So
It's a conversation that I'm not going to say it's a conversation we do not have.
Mm-hmm.
It is a conversation that we have, but I think that it is a conversation that we only have to a certain point.
yeah.
Right? Because you can only go as far as the coping mechanism you put in place.
Right.
So that's kind of the wall we put up. We're going to shoot for that. And hopefully that gives us what we need for that, for the next period of time. Right.
And I also think too, what happens is that we go for as far as where we know. Like, you guys start the conversation knowing exactly where you're going to stop. The unknown is where we stop, because we want to go to the unknown because we've never been there.
Right.
So it's like waking up and it's a bad dream every day. Ferris Bueller's Day Off. You know, you wake up and it's like the same. It's like, wait, I just did this yesterday, but it's familiar to you. So you stop at that point and you never go a step further.
That's true. And that is kind of what we do to a certain extent. So, man, all right. And you know, it's interesting. There are some people who and I really hope that folk watch this replay, because there are some things, right, that were said that if you and I are honest with each other, some of these things in the back of our mind, we kind of know, or at least we suspect might need to happen. But because, like Mia said, it's unknown,
right,
we just don't venture that far.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that a lot of this information is I don't want to use the word clarity, but I think what's the word? Like, we were thinking one thing, but then Mia kind of was like, well, you're kind of on the right track, but kind of added to what we were thinking.
It's another level of direction that I feel like we need.
Yes.
Right.
It's like you get an aha moment.
Yes.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, it's like an aha moment. But I really wanted to do this on here because, yes, for us, but like you said in the beginning, you know, there are just a lot of people who deal with situations like this or very, very similar to this, and, you know, just need that direction. And so that was why I wanted to do this on here in this way. So I hope that people, you know, are able to maybe share this with someone who they know is going through this, or that if you're watching it, that you got some really good insight from this, like we did, because this was super, 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 super helpful.
Yes, indeed.
So I want to put a plug out there. Some people may be wondering, like, where do I even go to get therapy? How do I start? One of the benefits, the very small benefits of COVID-19, is that Psychology Today has a slew of licensed therapists who are offering the first session free. And some people do 30 minutes and some people do 60 minutes for free.
Wow,
and
that's great.
You don't have to commit to pass that. You know, you can just check it or check your thinking or just have a conversation with someone. You can find them on psychologytoday.com. It'll list every profile, list like what their specialty is, what gender that they work with, or if they do individual or couples. And so If that doesn't work for you and you have health insurance, on the back of your health insurance card is a phone number for behavioral health or mental or member services.
Yeah.
And all you do is you call that number and say, hey, I want to go I want to know what are my benefits for counseling.
Mm-hmm.
They'll give you those benefits and then say, can you email me a list of providers in my neighborhood or in my zip code that I can go to and visit. And that's how you start the process. And I tell all my clients when they first reach out to me, I say, you should be interviewing me as if you were going to a salon for the first time and you have no clue if they can do your hair or not. And you have every right to ask questions. How long have you been doing this? What is your specialty? So can you work with someone like me? Those questions are okay. And if the therapist feels annoyed by your questions, that's not the person for you.
Wow. Yeah. Yep. That's good.
You said that was psychologytoday.com. Did I spell that right? Nope.
Nope.
I put it here for you
I put
because
an extra Y. Yeah, I saw you do that because I knew I was going to do something that I wasn't supposed to do.
Yeah, so you can look up people's names. You can just look up zip codes. If you know a private practice, you can look them up as well.
Good. That's a great start for you guys. If you need it, you can definitely start there. Psychologytoday.com. You can't beat a 30 or 60-minute free session.
Take advantage of it now because I know for my practice, it's not going to last long. So
that's right.
Take advantage while you can.
Very, very good.
That was good.
Yeah.
We appreciate
very, very much
you taking out time.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yes.
We appreciate that. This is good.
We need to do sessions like this, I don't know, maybe once a quarter or once a month or something like that, and have a particular topic that we talk about. I think that would be good. If you're willing, that would be awesome.
Sure. And you know what? I would love to return the favor and have you guys join our Candor conversation and be a guest on the show while we're talking about just various things.
Oh, we would love that. Thank you.
We would love that.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's great.
Anytime. Let us know.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do like you, Ali. So let's plan for August.
Let's do it. I'm down. Let's do it. Let's do it. I guess I should be able to allow people to put me on the spot.
Right.
Absolutely.
Just always put other people on the spot. Man, listen. Thank you. Thank you for helping us walk through this conversation. I think it's very important. A lot of what you said stuck with me, but I'm going to pull out one thing just before we go. And that is when you were talking about the fact that as a family, we all need to allow each other to see the highs and lows.
Yeah.
That for me is that's something that I need to work on. Because I think with Nisi, there gets to a point where she does see it, but I may not acknowledge the depth of it.
Yeah.
So she will see it because we've been together long enough to read each other's body language.
Yeah.
So I may not say that I'm buckling under all of this, but my body language will say it. But I won't follow up that body language with an in-depth confession, if you will, of what's really happening.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm definitely not doing it in front of our students.
You got to think about why, like, and that's a internal thing you got to process. Like, why is it that you won't be as vulnerable as you need to be with your family?
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. Very good. Very good.
Yeah, you're right. I do have to think about that. I have a partial answer to that, but I definitely need to explore it. Because I feel like I am being vulnerable in those moments when I give up a little bit.
But it's not complete.
But it's not. It's not.
And are you giving up, or are you kind of forced? Not wrong word. Are you giving up, or are you at the point where you have no option but to show a glimpse of it and then you retreat it back?
The second.
Yeah.
The latter.
That's it.
I'm at the point where it's too heavy.
Yeah.
And I've walked as many miles as I could.
So you're going to put it down just for a little bit.
Right. So
stretch, catch your breath, and then you pick it right back up.
Right.
Exactly.
Yep.
That is exactly what I do.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
And that goes to your upbringing, right? That's how your family dealt with crises and situations.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but there is healing that comes out of being in crisis mode. You come out differently.
Wow.
You don't come out the same.
That's a really deep statement. There is healing from being in crisis mode. I like it.
There it is. I think that's a perfect way to end this.
Yeah.
We do not want to keep you from that beautiful baby girl any longer than we already have.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mia.
Yes.
Thank you for that.
It's been great. I love the conversation. Thank you for allowing me the platform.
Thank you so much. We did love it. We loved it as well and needed it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I will be sharing this, and hopefully folk will check it out and we'll get what we got.
So when is your next candor conversation, or do you have anything else going on that you want to plug, and how can people reach out to you if they need to, or all of that?
I am on Psychology Today. Spell my name out so that they know how to find me. And I do not have a date yet. Usually Candor Conversation is the third Sunday of each month.
Okay.
And so what usually happens is around the first of the month, I start to communicate with the team about what our topic is going to be. Are we having a guest come or not? And so plan for the third Sunday. It's usually starts about 4:00 and it goes to about 5:00. And so those are the only things that's going on right now. And I am taking new clients. I do not accept insurance. I am all self-pay. Okay. But, you know, there are other people out there who do take insurance. So,
Excellent. Very, very good. Well, we just, we're so happy that you finally started your Candor Consulting firm.
Thank you.
We just pray that, you know, that we know it's your passion. We know it's what you love to do. So we just pray as you pour out to people like you did with us today, that God will just fill you up to overflowing, and just blessings on your family, your marriage, your children. Look at me, your children.
Just prophesying over you. Be careful. Be careful how you go about your evening this evening.
Well, you know, self-care is really good.
There it is. Just blessings on your family. Just all
I received it all. Thank you.
And we just thank you. And we'll be in touch. Definitely.
Yeah,
we will.
Definitely.
Please give our regards to your husband. Thank him for allowing you to take
steal
this time
you away.
for us to steal you away for a little bit on a Thursday evening. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
No problem, guys. You have a good, blessed night.
You too. Thank you so much.
Much appreciated.
I'll be in touch.
Okay. Take care.
Take care.
So that was good.
That was amazing. That was amazing.
That was good. So listen, guys, we appreciate you taking the time to be in this conversation with us. We are actually going to be doing more of these, where we actually have some folk come on and talk with us, because listen, we want couples to talk more, but there are some conversations where you do have to bring in reinforcements, because
absolutely,
she and I can talk about it, but we may not have all the resources. We may not have all the tools that we need. We may not have all the information. We may not be armed and equipped with all the information for that conversation to be productive. Right. And so you have to bring some other folk in to do that. And so we're going to be doing that. Mia this week, next week, we have another guest. So look out for that. I'll put up a poster or flyer for that. We have a couple coming on with us next week. Phenomenal couple that's going to have a conversation with us about some important stuff that we're dealing with, that they are dealing with as well, and things that they learned throughout that process. And so that's what we're going to do, right? Because that's what it's all about. And so before I let you go,
one of our Facebook users said, "Childhood, Lord, yes, deliver us."
Exactly, because
oh my goodness,
because a lot of that stems from childhood, from family of origin, from the way we were raised, from the things that we were taught, the things that we were handed down, right? And so these conversations need to be had. So listen, we've created a tool. We bookend it every time. We've created a tool that you can use to kind of help at least get your thoughts out, right? And that is to have a conversation couples journal. You can get it on denali.org/shop, Amazon or Barnes and Noble. Couple things we want to share with you. One in particular, well, actually just one thing we want to share with you in particular. On August 29th, we are very excited about this. Talk about having a conversation. We have 3 couples, phenomenal couples that will be joining us on the 29th for this forum. And you see on the flyer here, our keynote couple is LaTroy and Christina Brown, Married for Real. If you're not following them already, please go afterward and look them up. Married for Real.
Married, phenomenal. The number 4, Real.
We also have 2 other couples, and we'll announce them this week as well. But they are Jimmy and Rachel Rogers, and they are Relationship Real Talk. And Jocelyn and Aaron Freeman from Meet the Freemans. 3 phenomenal couples. This will be, it's mind-blowing really already to me, the fact that those 3 couples are actually going to be with us.
Yeah, exciting.
So by all means, if you can get a pass, we only have 25 VIP passes that are available. But if you can get a pass, we urge you to get a pass and join us on the 29th. For something that I guarantee will be beneficial to everybody. So with that, listen, we're going to get out of here. Thank you. Those of you that rock with us consistently, we do not take it for granted. I wish there was something I could do. Like, I wish I could just give out like $100 gift cards to the folks that rock with us consistently. One day we will do something for you, I promise. But listen, we thank you for taking the time out. We hope you enjoy the rest of your Thursday evening and have a phenomenal weekend, and we will see you next week.
Good night. Be safe, guys. Be safe and stay cool. It's hot.
It is hot. Yeah, stay cool. Thanks, guys. We
appreciate
appreciate
everybody.